Hello, and welcome to Time of Death. I'm your host, Dee.
And I'm Ris. And if you're new here, welcome. We are two nurses that love to talk true crime. We like to focus on cases that feature a medical professional as the perpetrator or the victim.
So tonight we have, well, on a more optimistic note, I wrote in my notes, welcome back, turkeys and jerkies.
Very, very,
Very cute, very demure.
relevant for the holiday coming up.
Yes, this is a big bar night.
It is a big bar night.
So I hope everyone is staying safe.
Yep, no drinking and driving.
Yes, and, call an Uber. Don't get behind the wheel if you're drunk.
Yes, and be careful on the roads.
So just a quick PSA about that before we get into it. Don't be a jerky. Don't drive under the influence of wild turkey on the rocks with honey.
I didn't know you were going with that,
I didn't
but
know
it went
either.
well.
I don't know either. I
It
just
worked somehow.
just started talking. So tonight we're going to be discussing a tragic case. It's one that has shocked the nation, specifically the brutal murder of Laken Riley. Are you familiar?
I've heard a little bit about it. I know Mom was talking about it the other day.
Yes. Well, Laken was a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University. On February 2nd, 2024, Laken went out for a jog on campus and never came back. What followed that innocent morning, she just goes out for a jog, has devolved into a chilling investigation that has revealed some really disturbing details about her death. And just to preface this, her death has been very politicized out of respect for her family, specifically her father, Jason Riley, who has been incredibly vocal about wanting to keep politics out of what happened to Laken. He wants the focus of what happened to her to really be her life. And so just fully transparent, we will be respectful of the family members' wishes during this time. So we will not be making any type of political commentary. So during today's episode, we'll really get into the physical evidence that's been discovered, the forensic findings that allowed law enforcement to crack the case, fortunately, and the emotional impact on Laken's family, as well as her community.
Quick question. Where is this taking place?
It's taking place in Georgia.
Okay.
Georgia. We'll also briefly touch on the trial and how it went on to shed light about the man accused of this horrifying crime, Jose Ibarra. So, Laken was a promising nursing student at Augusta University. Again, she was enrolled in the nursing program at school. Before she transferred to Augusta, she had been a student at the University of Georgia, where she was an active member of the sorority Alpha Chi Omega. She was a dedicated cross-country runner in high school, born into a very tight-knit family. Her parents were Jason Riley and Allison Phillips. Her mom, Allison, was incredibly close to Laken, and she also had a stepfather named Jason, as well as a sister. On that fateful morning in February, she was just out for a jog, something that I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast has done. It just, should have been a normal, peaceful day. Tragically, it turned into something that nightmares are made out of. What we know from the investigation is that Jose attacked her violently when she refused his advances and ultimately killed her with a rock.
With a rock?
A rock.
Oh my God, that's brutal.
So Jose had a history of legal issues prior to the crime. Around the community had been seen peeping into windows prior to the murder. And there was a high suspicion that he was stalking women. No confirmed connection to Laken before the attack. His information that's available online is very limited. Jose was an undocumented immigrant. Jose may have been Venezuelan or Mexican. We're not sure. there's two sources that say Venezuelan and one source, more sources that say Mexican. But he had been arrested by U.S. Customs and Border Protection September 8th, 2022, after he unlawfully entered the U.S. near El Paso, Texas. He was paroled and released for further processing. He went on to be arrested in New York for driving an unregistered and uninsured car. And he was also arrested with his brother, Diego, for stealing $200 worth of items from Walmart.
Okay.
So he has a known criminal history. Basically what that gist is of that. So in terms of physical findings from the crime scene, this was instrumental in linking Jose to the actual crime. Laken's body was found in a very secluded area of the campus. The forensic team had found severe trauma to her head with blunt force injuries consistent with a rock, which, again, he used to strike her repeatedly. The forensic pathologist went on to determine that the injuries were not accidental, but were the result of an intentional and brutal attack. Mm-hmm. There were multiple skull fractures with lacerations around the scalp and face, which again indicated the severity of the assault. So when you hear that as an ED nurse, what are you thinking?
She definitely had a lot of trauma to the face and head area, I would say, for sure. Mm-hmm. It sounds pretty brutal. Multiple fractures in different parts of the skull, and then several lacerations as well. That to me says there was quite a bit of trauma during this attack. He may have wanted it to be really brutal. Mm-hmm. Because it's easier to strangle somebody than it is to smash their head in.
And I think also, Ris, you bring up a good point with that, because usually when someone goes after the face, that's a very personal and aggressive act.
Yeah.
You know, the face is really the identity of a person, yeah. Right? And you're going after them on a very... I have a sneaking suspicion that she was one of the women that he was stalking. She just was not aware of that. Mm-hmm. Because for him to, one, have the courage and confidence to approach her, mm-hmm. She just happened to be out on a run. Like, mm-hmm. Again, I didn't see any evidence to really back that up, mm-hmm. but this is just my intuition. Okay. It was it sounded like a very personal thing. And for him to use a rock, he was not prepared for rejection.
That feels very personal, too. Mm-hmm. Taking a rock to someone's face, and it does cause a lot of, it's obviously going to cause a lot of disfigurement.
Mm-hmm. There were also signs of defensive wounds to her hands and forearms. So she tried to protect herself from his attack. So the crime scene itself told a really haunting story. There was a ton of blood at the location where her body was discovered. Bloodstains were found in a trail leading from where she was initially attacked to where her body was ultimately left. So he dragged her body, whether it was she was still alive at that point or this was after she had passed. That was not clear to me. Again, this suggested that she was moved after the assault. However, another piece of crucial evidence came from her fingernails. The skin and blood samples matched Jose's DNA. Again, this forensic detail was critical in securing his arrest and linked him directly to the scene of the crime and the victim.
Was there any evidence of sexual assault?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
These samples of DNA became instrumental to the investigation because, again, said that Laken had fought fiercely in an attempt to defend herself. In addition to the DNA evidence, investigators found Jose's fingerprints on Laken's phone. So during the attack, I've seen conflicting reports, but she attempted to call 911. Mm-hmm. And there was if you listen to the phone call recording, you can hear thumps.
So was she able to call 911?
I think she did the SOS.
Oh, okay. All right.
What I thought was especially tragic during this case, I mentioned that his DNA was, his fingerprints was found on her phone that she had tried to use before she died. Before Laken actually went out on that run, she called her mom, which I do all the time. I call my mom all the time. You know, mom was busy. I believe she was at a birthday party. So ended up calling her mom at 9:03 a.m. And her mom returned that call 20 minutes afterwards, which was an awful twist of fate because mere 20 minutes after, when her mom called back, she had already encountered Jose on the trail.
So she didn't talk to her mom at all?
No, she tried to call before the run.
Yeah. That's sad.
During that time, Laken was also wearing a smartwatch, which was able to pinpoint the exact time of death, being 9:28 a.m. So after the assault, her mom tried to call multiple times, texted her. You know, at first wasn't that alarmed, but she did not hear back from her. So she reached out multiple times. 9:37, she texted Laken, call me when you can. Her calls were going unanswered. It just was really, really awful. And at some point, Laken, I don't know if using the SOS button, so a lot of iPhones do have a button that you can press if you can't actually dial. Mm-hmm. So there is a recording of Laken making a 911 call. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to play it for you, Ris, because it's heartbreaking. So we just listened to...
We can't play it.
We can't play it, but when you listen to the recording, you can literally hear what sounds like maybe she's coughing, but you can like definitively hear him striking her with the rock. Then some people are saying that he tried to step on the phone. We heard a man's voice. So like it's really heartbreaking because at that point, that's when he tried to take the phone away from her. Because his DNA and fingerprints were found on the cell phone, that again placed him at the scene of the crime. It's possible that he interacted with the phone after she had passed. What they think might have been an attempt to cover up his tracks. There was also a jacket found near the scene, which contained both Jose's and Laken's blood. The combination, again, of all of these physical findings really left very little doubt about his involvement in the crime. As the investigation continued to unfold, authorities quickly pieced together the physical findings to make a case against Jose. They determined that he had been in the area at the time of the attack, and his actions during the assault were captured on nearby security cameras, which showed him walking near the scene. So at this point, they have not only his fingerprints, his DNA, they have video surveillance, putting him at the scene of the crime, as well as timelines of witnesses saying that they saw him in the area before Laken, like the last time she was seen alive. Okay. Again, the forensic findings were so damning that when Jose was arrested, it was clear to everyone that he was responsible for Laken's death. However, during the trial, his defense team really attempted to downplay the physical evidence, trying to come up with like plausible explanations about how the injuries could have been sustained. Was it an accident? Why did I say it like that? Accident? Was it an accident? You know, the injuries could have been, yes, a struggle. Doesn't mean he killed her. So they really tried to sell it. But again, forensic pathologist testimony was crucial in debunking this argument because of the injuries she sustained. And this chick is Dr. Lindsay Grier. This is the case Scarpetta of this case. She's badass. She, again, was the forensic pathologist who performed the autopsy, saying that the head injuries were consistent with blunt force trauma from a rock, rather than any accident or incidental injuries. She noted the extensive bruising and abrasions on Laken's hands were consistent with her fighting for her life. So Jose was convicted of murdering Laken and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on November 20th, 2024.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that he being convicted so recently.
I was on TV when I was watching the court. There was a police officer he was a campus police officer who tried to resuscitate her, and there was nothing he could do to help her. Just very graphic.
The physical evidence wasn't just important in proving Jose's guilt, but also showed the world that Laken was strong and resilient. She did everything in her power to get away from this person. And despite the horrific attack, what she did during that time may have not saved her life, but it allowed her killer to be brought to justice. And at the heart of this is the loss that her family has endured. Her mother, Allison, spoke about the torment of losing her daughter, as well as the heartbreaking reality that no amount of evidence is going to bring Laken back. No conviction will bring Laken back. The family's impact statements were filled with love and just so much grief, because they remembered her as more than just a victim of the crime, but she was a daughter, a friend, and a bright young woman whose potential had been stolen by Jose. Mm-hmm. Again, no conviction is going to take away the pain felt by her loved ones. Her story is a tragic reminder of just how fragile life is and how one act of violence can shatter the lives of so many people. And Laken's legacy will live on in everyone who knew her. And I think the lesson that we learned from this case, it's just a really somber reminder that justice, no matter how slow or fast it is, can be served when we use truth to guide us. Her family is honoring her memory and established the Laken Riley Foundation to try to keep her memory alive. Her family have also been very visible at various public events to bring more awareness to what happened to her. And I think what's also important is that the role that technology played. Mm-hmm. The fact that, she had a smartwatch on. You either used that or her phone to hit the SOS button and try to get help. The fact that maybe if she had been able to connect with her mom, would she have gone for a run that morning? Yeah. Like, one thing can make such a difference. It's like a domino effect. Sure, that's haunting mom, but it's not mom's fault.
No.
It's absolutely not mom's fault, because the only person whose fault this was Jose. And I just want to give credit to mom. Mom is the one who told me about this case, and it was a request, so I did it.
When I was watching the court, it was heartbreaking to see the family. The whole thing was heartbreaking. This young, promising woman that was struggling for her life, and then hearing and seeing the family was heartbreaking.
Awful tragedy. But I just want to let you know, for Laken's memory, I know that nursing school is incredibly challenging. She was on the dean's list. Very smart, talented girl. And I know she wanted to be a nurse. So in my book, Laken, you are a nurse. You would have made a wonderful nurse.
It captured a lot of attention from the public with this case. For one, it was a young, promising woman who was developing her skills to help society and help other people, which is admirable. And I was especially touched by the closeness she shared with her daughter. I have that same connection with my girls and my son, and my heart goes out to the family. It's just a hard reality of life lately. It just seems, you would think in a college environment with with an enclosed facility and a enclosed area that's protected by its own police and well lit, and that it would be secure. And to me, I understand that there's ways to circumvent if somebody wants to do harm, they're going to figure it out. And, but still, she was a young nurse student and trying to stay healthy and maybe take a break from her studies and enjoy the area. But we have to remember to always keep ourselves safe and I tell my children all the time, when you're out of your home, you should especially be alert to your environment. When you're walking, when you're getting into your car, when you're parking, try to park under lights. Try to always be thoughtful and mindful of what you're doing. Maybe when you're coming during this holiday season, people are buying gifts and spending their money, and be careful when you're putting your money back into your purses and in your wallets. If you have cash, try not to flash anything, because it can identify you to someone who has bad intentions. So just try to keep in mind what your protection, and to make decisions that and keep you safe. I know sometimes I forget that, and I'm too busy thinking, okay, I gotta go here and I gotta get that, and I lose sight of what I'm doing immediately, and I think that's a danger, and that's part of my personality, and I have to constantly remind myself, what, I'm not home. I'm in an environment where there are a lot of people. I don't know everyone, and I need to take precautions. So I think these are some things to keep in mind with the holiday season approaching us, and the activities. Everybody's busy running around with other things maybe on their minds. Just remember your safety is the most important thing. And also, like if I mentioned before that if I'm walking or I'm working out and walking as part of my routine, my exercise, I try to keep space from other people, just so that I know where they are and they're not too close, because that could be a danger. So try to keep those things in mind, and I hope it helps everyone.
Mom, great safety tips. Thank you so much. Guess what, guys? I'm in charge right now because Ris has the stomach bug, which is awful and horrible. I should not laugh, but it feels good to be the boss. It feels really good. I'm not going to lie. So she'll probably end up deleting this, to be honest with you, but I'm going rogue. I'm going off script. So, just some final thoughts. Thank you all for listening. Make sure that you are eating plenty of turkey tomorrow if that's your thing. If not, tofurkey, which I just found out is a thing. Tofu turkey. Yes. My best friend is vegetarian and has been for the longest, so I don't know how I didn't know about that. On that note, any quick final thoughts, Mom?
I always have final thoughts.
I said quick. I should have said brief. Give us the bullet point notice. No, give us the bullet point version.
I want to wish everybody a blessed Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family and the special people you spend time with, and be thankful for all that we have. Good night.
Good night. I have to go take care of baby Ris. The eve before Thanksgiving, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, except for Ris's bowels. All right, good night, everyone. Have a good, safe holiday. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.